I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this. So I actually lied to all of you. The chapters are very short, which is helpful because it does feel like I'm reading quicker than I probably actually am. Just found out that on Kindle, wait, you can select, and then up here there's a translate option. I remember obviously when I picked this book up in 2025, I got like 50 something% way through. Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. As I am starting this video, I literally just finished reading Heated Rivalry on my Kindle, and there is a whole video of me reading Heated Rivalry on my channel. I did want to watch the series, but I couldn't find it anywhere available here in Spain, which was really sad. But this video is essentially trying to get through books I kind of soft DNF'd towards the end of 2025. And I didn't soft DNF them because any of them were bad or didn't have me hooked. Quite the opposite. All of them had me very much intrigued and I was really enjoying them. I just read a lot of 5-star reads last year with Onyx Storm, What's Upon a Broken Heart, which I still need to finish the series of, Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm trying to think of other ones I read, but a lot of the books I read last year, though there wasn't as many as the year before, a lot of them were 5 stars, and I just kind of, I don't want to say book slumped, but almost like book hangover. And I felt a lot of these books being highly ranked as well, and I didn't want the same thing to happen again, so I'd be like, oh, I'll leave that for a different time and start a different book, and I'd get the same vibe. And then it just got to the point where I wasn't picking up books that much anymore. So I want to ideally essentially mood read for a week and see how many books I can read, but the main TBR of this video is the books that I'm partway through, because I want to finish books I'm like in the middle of. I have a couple on my Kindle, so I'll go through them first. The first is The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Brobent. Now, this is book, I think, 4 in the Crowns of Nyxia series, or Nyaxia, I still don't know how to pronounce it, but it is one of my favourite fantasy series and romantasy series ever. It's kind of the first series that ever got me into that genre / like subgenre. It was so good, but it was almost too good that I was already slumping a little bit at that point. I got 43% way through, which is nearly halfway, and I did really love the direction everything was going. I just couldn't get through it because I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if you've ever experienced it either, but it's like you've read so many good books and you know they've left you like, oof, like I don't know how anything will ever compare to that after I've read that, because it kind of taints your view on the next thing you read if it was really really good, because that's what happened with the Empyrean series. I watched them. I read them basically back to back because I really wanted to read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. So I tried to time it as best as I could for when like Onyx Storm came out. And I'm pretty sure I have a video of me reading the Empyrean series, at least books 1 and 2. I don't know if I have one for Onyx Storm or it's all in the same video. I'm not 100% sure. But I know I did a reading vlog reading them. And any book I read after Onyx Storm was dumbed down, and not dumbed down, but like the rating was lower than it probably would have been if I hadn't have read it after a 5 to 6 star read, and that's kind of where I was this year with books that I soft DNF'd. Was just, it was coming off the back of something that I wasn't sure anything could compare to. Now, the Carissa Broben Crowns of Nyxia series, every book in that series has been like 4.5 to 5 star, 6 star for me. So I definitely want to finish that. The other one I have on here that I'm partway through is The Housemaid by Freddie McFadden. I started this when I was travelling to Malaga with my sister to go to a concert. I was reading it on the plane, and then I think I was that tired, and the plane ride wasn't that long. It was like less than an hour, and I didn't really want to be reading on the bus back from the airport to our house, so I didn't end up picking it up again. And it did have me hooked. I was super invested. I think I got 25% way through, and I was really intrigued to see where it went. It was very confusing, and I think I just wasn't in the mental state to be reading like a thriller mystery type book, because my brain capacity was so like stuck on the concert we saw and the travelling, and it was like brain dead part way through everything, because we spent like 4 hours walking through an art museum because it was floor after floor after floor, and there was no other way out. You just had to go through, and I loved it, but it does tire you as well as travelling does. But I definitely want to get round to The Housemaid because the live action just came out. It's currently in cinemas, but I might wait until it's on a streaming platform, because I do want to go watch it in the cinema, but I'm scared that by the time I finish the book, it's no longer in the cinema, or at least in voice original over here in Spain. So that is a high top priority. And the other one is over here. It's a physical book I started reading, and it's super good. It's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I can't remember who it's from or like who it's by because I took the dust cover off. I think this one that I got is possibly a like special edition or a hardcover, but it has like the artwork stuff in it, and the artwork is absolutely like gorgeous and stunning. But I think what slowed me down on reading this is the fact that I decided I was going to annotate it, because I was pretty sure this is a book I was going to love, and I'm still pretty sure it's a book I'm going to love because I am really enjoying it. I got to page 60, so I'm not even 100 pages in, but I think annotating just really slowed down the process. And like, don't get me wrong, I've annotated quite a lot of stuff to be 60 pages in, which is a good sign for me, but again, probably just not the right headspace to be reading. So they're the main three on my mood reading TBR for this week. I want to be mood reading because that's when my best reading happens, and if I follow my mood, I also feel like I can accurately, I think I mispronounced that, accurately review the books and rate them accordingly to the fact that I'm not forcing myself to read it, because I think that lowers stuff even more. I'm not really sure what to do, or which one to start with. I'll update you when I've made the decision of the book I'm going to be reading. So I've read another like 10% of the book, which I didn't film, but I think I'm gonna cut where I was explaining earlier about what's going on in the book, because I explained it really badly, and I'm gonna do an actual proper good version of explaining what's going on in the book up until where I'm at. Actually, what's happening in this book is carrying straight on from book 3, in which it ends with Mish, our main female character in this book, killing her own god, which is the god of sun. And in this book it explains that because she did that, and then she was obviously killed after she committed that crime, she's now in the underworld, but in the normal world where all the rest of the vampires and realms and stuff are, because she killed the god of sun, which was her god, it has created an entire endless night. So it's just nighttime constantly because there is no god of sun. And our main male character in this book, who is called Asar, he is essentially now the god of death, but he's not fully ascended to being the god of death. He has the heir to that realm, kingdom, whatever you want to call it, but the other gods don't see him as the correct heir, and they don't see him as worthy. But throughout this book he is going through different trials and tribulations to collect different items to ultimately ascend to be the god of death, and I would assume to probably bring Mish back from the underworld permanently. I don't know if the god of death can do that, it's not really gone into full details yet, but he was the son of the original god of death, who obviously passed away, which is why he's like the heir, and his blood relation is to the god of death, but people don't see him as worthy, or at least the other gods don't. And Mish has just kind of betrayed Rain, who is from book 1, the main male character from book 1. They were really good friends, and she went with Asar instead of going with Rain for safety, and obviously he wasn't very happy, he was disappointed, but it's her life. And she's now feeling bad that she obviously left him behind to go with Asar, but the journey has to continue, you know, it is what it is. So I'm like 48% way through of the book, and I'm just gonna continue reading. So I just finished the 4th book in the Crowns of Nyxia series, and which is obviously The Fallen and Kiss of Dusk. Now, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this, and as I've indicated in the title and thumbnail, spoilers will be given in some of my reviews because certain things influenced my rating heavily, but I can't say them without it being a spoiler. So what needs to be said is being said. I remember obviously when I picked this book up in 2025, I got like 50-something% way through, and I remember the pacing being so good, and when I picked it back up the pacing still was good. However, at like 60-something% way through, it felt, and I said it before, that there was like a spike of action and then nothing, and then a spike of action and then nothing, and it was constant up and downs, and I didn't know how to feel about it. It was probably intentional, or it was just the way that I read it that made it seem that way, but pacing is a big thing for me when I'm reading. I don't mind a slow-paced book if you can tell it's meant to be a slow-paced book. This, I couldn't tell if it was intentional or not, or if it was just the way that I was reading it, but it did heavily influence my opinion. I annotated quite a lot of quotes, especially towards the end, which I'll read you some in a second. I did want to touch on a couple things I really loved, and this is where the spoilers definitely come into the review. One thing I loved was throughout the journey when Asar and Mish are collecting these items like the eye, the like mask, the dagger sword thing, all of them as Asar is equipping himself with them, every single thing is becoming a part of him, and so they're talking to him, they're influencing his brain, his thoughts. The Marithian, which is obviously like Mish and Asar met in that palace, or it's a very big like palace type area that's mentioned. It repairs itself when it's destroyed. It also is talking to mainly Mish, but both of our characters. The underworld is also communicating with Mish. There's just those little elements that I've really enjoyed. The whole journey of Mish with her sister Sasha wrecked me. As someone who is a little sister with an older sister, knowing the whole backstory of what happened, what Mish did to her, them meeting when Sasha is essentially kind of like a wraith that hasn't been able to cross over into the underworld, and her soul is not at peace, and that whole section of it, like tears were shed. It felt so emotional. I also loved how when Asar fully ascends to being the god of death, his point of view switches on the title of whose point of view it is from Asar to the god of death. Really just like setting in stone that there is a difference. Like, he is not Asar anymore, he is the god of death in all caps. They're not the same person. He's kind of been entirely disconnected from who he was as Asar. That I loved as well. I'm going to read you a few quotes that I loved, and most of these are from the end of the book. These two were highlighted within the same chapter, and they're both from Asar's point of view. And it says, "I had walked the path to divinity, I had walked the path to death, and yet here, in her presence, I was overwhelmed. Here, in her presence, I knew worship." And the other one is, "And I knew this was true ascension. My queen, my light, my darkness, my future, the answer to every question, the ending to every sentence." And then there was one from Misha's point of view, where she's talking about Sasha, and she says she recognises this smell that's in the air, and she says, "A scent of jasmine and the ocean rolled over me. It smelled like childhood safety." And this quote, when I was reading it, like wrecked me. The Sasha beside me was the Sasha who had rocked me to sleep at night, who had laughed with me over silly stories, who had protected me from a terrifying world. She was the Sasha I had known as a child, strong, beautiful, and kind, and greater in my eyes than any goddess. My sister was whole. Like, insane. And I also loved how the epilogue of this book leaves it perfectly for the opening of the next like duet in this series, which I think is the Bloodborne duet, because this is the Shadowborn duet, I believe, and I think the next one is the Bloodborne duet, and it leads perfectly into it. Like, they've set, Carissa Broadbent has just set it up so well. And so I was really stuck on what rating to give this, because as I said at one point, it was like heading towards the 3 point something, and I don't think it can be higher rated than the third book. I think it does have to be lower, and I think I gave the third book a 4.5, and just because of that whole middle section with the pacing and everything, and a few little things here and there throughout the story, I think my final rating for The Fallen and Kiss of Dusk is going to be a 4-star. Rain and Araya, their first 2 books, will forever, I think, be my favourites in this series, just because it's the like originals. I had such an attachment to them. I loved how they were still here in this book, and there was closure within that for Araya. And I do love this series. I was concerned because I wasn't enjoying it at one point, but I started enjoying it again, and like read for like 2 hours straight and finished the book. So that also has to go up in reviews. I now need to decide what book I want to read next. I don't know, because the ending of that really made me want another fantasy. So I was leaning towards The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but my plan is to annotate that. And because I struggled a lot with that whole pacing thing, I don't know whether to go a completely different route, and go The Housemaid, which I'm 28% way through, because then I can finish it and watch the movie and tell you my opinions on the movie as well. So I'm gonna go The Housemaid. I'm on chapter 17, which is 28% way through, and page 92 on the Kindle. I'm here reading The Housemaid, and I just found out that on Kindle, you can select, and then up here there's a translate option, so it tells you what it is, which is crazy. I did not know that was a thing. So we just had dinner, and I'm starting to read from where I left off. The chapters are very short, which is helpful because it does feel like I'm reading quicker than I probably actually am. That, and it's less pages than The Fallen and the Dusk of something, the Crowns of Nixia book 4 that I read. I'm so bad with those titles, like The Serpent and Wings of Night, and I just get lost because they're so long. But I'm enjoying it. It's a bit like trying to figure out what the hell is happening, but obviously I'm only like 30% in, so we shall see. This morning I did a little bit of reading. I did most of the reading last night when I was going to bed. I literally stayed up till 11 PM reading, and I got nearly halfway through the book. It is, I don't know if you can hear it in the background, raining so much. It's been raining non-stop, and the wind. We had amber alerts and everything for winds today, and because of the gloomy weather I felt like doing some baking, so I did some triple chocolate cupcakes, which I have a part-eat one here, and they're very good if I do say so myself. My dad likes to have them heated up with cream on them, and that's really good as well. But we're going to talk about The Housemaid and give you a few updates. These updates also include spoilers. I can't figure out a way to talk about it with where I'm up to without giving some type of spoiler or information. So this is just going to be a spoiler reading vlog basically. So I am exactly, let me wake the Kindle up, 44% way through, so very near halfway, chapter 29. And what has just happened is Nina has taken Cecilia to this camp place that she's going to be at over, I think, the summer for like 2 weeks. And there was this theatre, orchestra, musical thing that Andrew and Millie ended up going to. They went to dinner, got drunk, they had like a one-night stand, and then they got back and they just asked, what's his name? I want to say his name's Enzo. The Italian, yes, Enzo. The Italian like gardener for the family. And like a few days before all of this happened, he warned Millie to like get out and it's dangerous and a bunch of other stuff. And he looked towards the stairs, and it said like he looked really scared when he looked towards the stairs. And the only thing I can think is something happened up there that he's aware of, or like he saw something, like some weird ghost or something. And that is basically where I'm up to. Enzo's just gone to take the trash, as is written in the book, to the bins, because obviously Millie and Andrew stayed at the hotel with the one night stand. She couldn't take that out, and it was what she was asked to do by Nina. So to make her like Nina not aware of anything, Enzo went to go take it. And I think in this chapter it's when Nina gets back from taking Cecilia and like dropping her off and everything. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I'm getting through it a lot quicker, but it is a lot shorter than a fantasy book because it's a thriller mystery, and like The Fallen and Kiss of Dusk is like I think 500, nearly 600 pages, and this one's only 300 and something, and the chapters are a lot shorter. And because I think fantasy, it takes a bit more time for me to read them, because obviously there's the whole concept of their world and these complex words that are part of the story that aren't typically used in writing. It does take me longer to read them. And I also think it took longer because I was still slightly in a reading slump, but I'm reading quicker, or at least it feels like I'm reading quicker with this one. I'm gonna set a timer for like an hour and just read. I will say I currently have no theories whatsoever of what the actual mystery of this could be, because there's just so many twists and turns and things that are happening, and I just feel like slightly not lost because I'm following the story, but I have no theories. I have nothing because of the twists and turns. I can't figure out what it is other than some type of like haunting or ghost or something. I mean, obviously we know that Nina, well, we found out that Nina, like, postpartum took loads of drugs and nearly ended up killing Cecilia, and went to like a psychiatric hospital for, I don't know if it said how long, I think it was like a month or a few months or something. But again, I have no theories currently. So that's my current update for you, which is not much. literally 8:30 in the morning. I'd been up for like an hour. I would have liked it to be me waking up a bit earlier, but I did go to sleep at like 11 something last night because I finished The Housemaid, and I knew as soon as I woke up this morning and I had my coffee and stuff, I needed to talk to you about this because ironically, when I did the time lapse of me reading like the last one you guys saw, it was like 5 minutes after I filmed that and it was turned off that I got to the big reveal of the plot twist. And I will admit, I have theories as I kept reading, because I know the last update I told you I didn't have any, but I actually started getting some, and I thought like maybe Nina had like split personality or something. And then the big reveal happened of it being her husband, and then you had the switch point of view and her basically writing this handbook of everything she went through, of like marry rich, do this, everyone thinks you're crazy, make people believe it, and then escape. So essentially she put Millie in there because she knew he wanted, and like Andrew wanted his own kids, and she wasn't going to be able to give them to him, or essentially as she'd indicated she wouldn't be able to. So she kept putting it in his head of like he needed someone younger and drawing the two closer to each other so that he'd then become like obsessed with Millie, which did happen, and it was to get her and her like daughter Cecilia out of there. We also learnt that Enzo does speak English and he'd been helping Nina with her plan pretty much the entire time. However, he didn't agree with leaving Millie. And then eventually, obviously everything plays out, and then Nina goes back to the house to help Millie, but Millie's like pretty much taking care of everything herself. And then at the end of the book, we find out that his mum had like the same rules. Like that is where he got the like messed up sayings and stuff from, because one of the things Millie had Andrew do to get out of the attic room was to pull teeth out. And the mum said at the funeral, I always told him he needed to take care of his teeth. If you're not going to take care of your teeth, you don't like deserve to have teeth, or something like that. And it's like, okay, so she's the one he got it from. And then once this book finished, you had the epilogue, and then also a sneak peek into The Housemaid's Secret, which is book 2 in the Housemaid series. And it essentially is giving us indication that Millie is going to be almost an assassin for bad husbands. And it is so good. Like, I enjoyed this so much. I think it's my favourite mystery thriller I've read, like, ever. Granted, I haven't read, why do I keep saying like? Granted, I haven't read many thrillers in my time, because I am a more fantasy, romance reader, but I'm trying to expand, and I do enjoy mystery thrillers, but I think there's a certain way I like them to be executed where stuff isn't super predictable, and I also want to be able to read it where it's easy to read and I don't feel like I have to be trying to figure out who did it, which is what this was, because I'm someone who really enjoys crime, not crime in general, but like TV shows like 911, Criminal Minds, The Blacklist is one I got into recently, White Collar, and a lot of them show you the who did it before, and it's the whole story of them going and catching them. And I think over the years I've learned just to enjoy the program and not try and solve stuff, because I want to enjoy the reveal rather than being like, well, I saw that coming, that makes it less enjoyable. Unless the plot twist or the reveal in either a book or a TV show is super obvious, in which case I probably won't like it. I think there's just a way to do it, and this is it. Like, this I really liked. I already went on my Kindle this morning while looking through a bunch of different books for the future that I want to read, and I went and downloaded The Handmaid's Secret because I want to read that. I want to read book 2 in the series, but that won't be included in this video because I am gonna finish all the books I said on my list, and I'm gonna move on to a fantasy, which is the Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I have the book of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue here. I did take the dust jacket off because I don't read hardcover books with the dust jacket on. I do prefer paperback books for reading. I just think they're a bit more floppy and giving when you're going through the pages, but this one I believe is like an ARC edition or a special edition or something, because on the inside it has the like end pages artwork. I don't really know if you can see that on the screen, so I will do like a close-up. And on the back it also has some, and then in the middle it also has some artwork pages, and I just thought it's so beautiful. It also has like not sprayed edges but like decorated edges, and I am on page 60. It comes with like this little bookmark ribbon, as well as I have my little post-its that I'm annotating with, and there are a bunch of dark blues, greys, whites, because it kind of matches the vibe of this book, but it matches the dust jacket more, like the greys and whites. And then I added, I think, like a couple of blues in there just because I thought it also matched. And I don't necessarily have a system when it comes to annotating of like, this colour is for happy moments, this colour is for relatable moments, this colour is for this, that and the other. I just, based on the vibes, pick a colour of the ones that I've chosen that match and highlight with the post-it. I am personally not someone who writes on the pages of my book to annotate. I might be eventually one day, but I'm scared that stuff's like the ink is gonna bleed through the pages. So if I find pens or highlighters that don't bleed through, I might go in with it, but it has to be a book I know I'm 100% gonna keep, because I obviously can't get rid of them. Same with my sister, not this Christmas, well, not last Christmas that we just had, but the one before. She got me a stamp that's like from the library of Caitlyn Rose, and I wanted to stamp every single book I had, and now I'm thinking about it logically of like, it has to be a physical book I have that I've really, really enjoyed and do not one day see myself ever getting rid of in my collection. I don't see myself getting rid of any of the books, because I do eventually, when I move out and have my own place, want to have a massive book like area and have all the books I've ever had. But on the off chance I do dehaul some books to make room for new ones, I want to make sure they're ones I personally didn't like enjoy that much, so they don't have stamps or anything in them. As for annotating, there's also no rule, rhyme or reason, like everyone can do it however they see fit, but for me it's just, I tab something where I really like a quote or a certain moment that I can go back to. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to find... Like, there's a quote here that I liked. He is, after all, only a figment of her mind, a companion crafted first from boredom and then from longing. They're just quotes I really like, or moments I really enjoy. There is a rhythm to moving through the world alone. You discover what you can and cannot live without, the simple necessities and small joys that define a life. Not food, not shelter, not the basic things a body needs, those are, for her, a luxury, but the things that keep you sane, that bring you joy, that make life bearable. I will say this is a very quotable book in general, of one that is, I personally think, is very good for annotating, as someone who likes to annotate books with quotes rather than intense moments and stuff like that. I just like quotes of a book. Halfway there, she stops at the sound of a violin, the notes picked out like a ripened fruit. There's just quotes I enjoy, and like I said, I'm only 60 pages in. You can see it's not that, it doesn't look like I'm that far in. But there's loads of post-it notes there and tabs there, because there's just lots of quotes that I'm enjoying, and that is just personally how I currently annotate my books. Not to say that it won't change in the future, but I just thought I'd let you know how I annotate before I pick it up and read it further and you see me annotating and you're wondering what's she annotating. Just quotable moments or quotes I enjoy, or moments I want to go back to that I liked. Yeah. So I actually lied to all of you, because I'm not going to be reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue in this video. I will read it, but I got a delivery today of a book I have been waiting so long to buy and read, which is The Ballad of Never After, which is book 2 in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart last year and it was like a 5 or 6 star read, and it ended up being one of my favourite reads of 2025. I also another thing I bought that book was a bunch of sticky note tab things, and I took the book downstairs to my sister because she's the one who got me Once Upon a Broken Heart, that I obviously loved, and I did annotate, and so I want to continue that throughout the entire series. And I gave her all of these. There's 20 of them. There's a bunch of mixed colours and everything in there, and I gave her the book, the cover, and I said, here you go, pick 4 or 5 different sticky note tab colours, and these are the ones she came up with that match the cover. So you have the red that matches the flowers, the green for the green and the leaves on there, the pinky white colour to match the borders, the purple to obviously match the actual colour, and then the orange to match the little box. Right when you open it, it says TikTok little fox. I can't even deal. So I'm actually going to be reading this for the rest of this video. Do not fear, because in my wrap up of January I will probably include The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, given that I read it in time, but this is what we're going to be reading for the rest of this video. I just need to put these on a little bookmark thing so I can start reading this. I'm so excited to see where Evangeline and Jack's story goes from here, because my heart is I'm a Jack girl. I love Jack, aka the Prince of Hearts, in this story. I love it, so I'm excited to see where the series goes. Guys, it's now the next morning. It is literally not even 8 AM, it is 7:45. which is why I'm filming pretty much in the dark with just my like light that I have. And I'm 30% way into the Ballad of Never After, and as you can see I've annotated quite a lot. I do want to do like an hour of reading. I know I have to go do the food shop today with my mum. People came over yesterday, which is why I didn't read as much as I probably would have, which again, not an issue. I'm really enjoying this. The letter at the beginning I thought was so cool. Like, Evangeline wrote a letter to herself, words of warning, basically telling her not to trust Jax. And we see a lot more of Chaos, who is the vampire from book 1. And Luke is back, and he came back as Prince Lucian, which, like, he's been in it, but we've not really found out why specifically he has. I do understand why the title is The Ballad of Never After though, because I've gotten like just to the point where they're discussing the ballad of the hunter and the fox, which is essentially this hunter that's sent to hunt a certain fox, and it turns out it's this woman that has capability to turn into the fox, and he falls in love with her while hunting this fox that he can't find, and it turns out that it's her. So this person puts a curse on him to say that he cannot return home basically until he kills the fox, and that is it. And Jax also said a quote that I highlighted. It's, "Ballads never end happily." Everyone knows that, which is why it makes sense that it's the Ballad of Never After. And Apollo, who is the prince, I don't think he's king yet, I could be wrong, but he's the prince of their kingdom, who Evangeline married in book 1, who was under this curse of essentially putting him into a coma, like a prolonged sleep. And they've now done a mirror curse, so whatever happens to Apollo happens to Evangeline, and whatever happens to Evangeline happens to Apollo. And on top of that, he's now woken up, and someone, we don't know who, is, or like has put the curse of the Ballad of the Hunter and the Fox, or the Archer and the Fox, on Apollo. So he's now hunting Evangeline, and apparently the only way to stop it is to open the arch, which she can open with her blood, as we learned in book 1, but she doesn't want to do it because there's obviously stuff that Jax and Chaos want for their own benefit. But before they can even get to that point, they have to find the other stones. They already have the stone, the luck stone, but the 3 that they have left is 1 for luck, 1 for truth, 1 for mirth, 1 for youth. So luck is the one they already have, so they need truth, mirth and youth. And apparently mirth has the potential to make you lose your mind even more than the luck stone did. People will kill to hold on to their youth. It could also bring out jealousy, immaturity, and truth apparently is never what you want it to be. And that's where I left it, chapter 16. I'm so excited to get back into reading this. I'm hoping to finish it in time for when I need to edit this video. If not, I'll give you an update of where I'm up to and a rating on the screen somewhere of when I finish it, but we shall see. we have a lot to discuss. I finished The Ballad of Never After last night. I did most of my reading from like 9 to 12 p.m. So when you last saw me in the clip of me reading, because I think that's when you last saw me, I started at like 30 and then got to 50 or 60% way through the book. And I didn't really give you guys an update because I then went downstairs and watched Dune Part 1 with my mum and my dad. But I think as far as annotating goes, the only thing I really need to show you is this. I used every single tab available, and I also did slightly false truth you, because I said I don't have a system when annotating, and that is very true. Most of these colours mean nothing. The ones that do is green, which I used a lot of towards the beginning of the book, which were things in the storyline and explanations and stuff that I thought would be good to mark so I could go back to it if I'm ever lost. I needed to leave such a gap because I did think about filming at like 11 something p.m. when I finished the book yesterday, but I needed to sleep and I needed time to step away from this book and this world because I had so many questions still, which is why I need to go into book 3, and I will. But I'll also try and include that in a video so you can get my whole reaction and stuff. And I'm also aware I was kind of annotating quickly so I could still get through the book, which is why all of the tabs are uneven. I will go back through and put them so you can slightly see them, but they're not like sticking out at your face because I don't like that look. But I just needed to put the tabs there so they were there because I just wanted to continue like turning the pages constantly. I was feeling a lot like Evangeline throughout this entire book, in the fact of a lot of truths were hinted at the beginning of the book, but much like Evangeline, you're in denial about like, well, no, that seems too obvious, that can't be, that makes no sense, and a lot of them were true. The one I did not see coming was Castor, I think the prince's name is. Yeah, Castor, who we know in book 1 and like 75% of this book, if not like probably 90% of this book, as Chaos, the vampire. We also opened the arch. We found all of the stones. We found out that the stones not only open the arch with the key's blood, which is obviously Evangeline, but when the stones are together, it can only be used once, like ever, to travel back in time and rewrite a certain truth. And Jack's interest in Evangeline getting to the arch and finding the stones was so that he could have the 4 stones to go back in time to rewrite his whole story of just everything, his one true love, because we also found out that Jax knew the Valors, who are like Castor and his family, and he was the original archer from the Ballad of the Archer and the Fox, and every person like he falls in love with becomes his new fox and will inevitably be killed by him, which is why he was trying to push Evangeline away, because she was going to become his new fox. So he wanted to go back in time to change that. But when they opened the arch, Castor went to talk to his mother, who's the one who put the helm on him when he became the vampire known in like the gossip pages as the monster from the Valors era, because Castor died, which brought through Chaos, who was the vampire, and his mother is this really amazing healer that can heal all sorts of curses and stuff, and she put the helm on him so that he wouldn't hurt more people. But once she lifts that helm, oh yeah, we also found out that in the arch the Valors are the people that were in there, which is obviously Chaos or Castor's family. Major detail that I missed out there. And because he has not fed on blood for so long, he ends up feeding on Evangeline, and she dies. And so instead of Jax going back and rewriting his One True Love, he uses them to go back and stop Evangeline from dying, which was crazy. And I feel like I had this conflicted feeling, and like I said, when you're reading this, you really do feel like Evangeline, of just a roller coaster of going back and forth between trusting characters, liking characters, being shocked by their actions, being like, I don't know if I like you anymore, like Lala. We learned a lot more about her history as well, and I love learning about, like, not side characters, but I guess in a sense of their stories and learning more about them. And we learned that because she's known as the Cursed Bride, and the reason she's known about that is because her, like, the only person she's ever loved died, and now it's not because stuff happens, it's because she calls off weddings that she's known as the Cursed Bride, because she can't go through, because she couldn't love anyone as much as she loved him. And he was this dragon thing, but we didn't really learn his name or anything. But anyway, yeah, the Vallards were in the arch, and Jax used the stones to go back and stop Evangeline from dying at the hands of Chaos. And then he's shouting at her to leave because obviously he didn't go back and rewrite his history and make Evangeline forget him, and so she's still gonna be his new fox. But she runs into Apollo, and the curse on them has been lifted, thankfully, from the healer. And he first attempts to get close to her through reuniting as the married couple that they were from book 1. That didn't work because Evangeline has realised she loves Jax and wants to go help Jax and find Jax. And so what happens is Apollo basically wipes his thumb over her forehead, and I think, because I'm not sure, I still have so many questions about this ending, but I believe he's wiping people, not from her memory, but her from other people's, because there's a part in here. There was a blankness in her mind. She knew something had been stolen, but she had no idea what it was. With her body weakened, she fought to lock him out of her mind to hide her remaining memories, but one by one he plucked them out. So he is removing stuff from her memory, but I also think he's removing it from other people's, because every memory she has of, like, the nights with Jax, Lala, marrying Apollo, everything that happened in this book and the first book, he's wiping them one by one from her memory. And there's a bit where she's like clinging onto the memories of her parents and stuff, and then she's left feeling alone in this world, and that is where we end this book. And I have spent the few hours I've been awake this morning debating what to rate this, because I was trying to figure out if I enjoyed it as much as the first one, which was obviously a 5-star for me. And then I was stuck between a 4.75 and a 5-star, because I know this is going to be a very high rated book by me. And then I obviously got up this morning, went for a shower, washed my hair, kept thinking about all the theories and questions I had in the shower, when I was diffusing my hair, everything. I was constantly thinking about the Ballad of Never After, and so I think inevitably it just has to be a 5-star. It just has to, because if I can't stop thinking about a book, it's going to be a 5-star. I mean, if I change my mind, it will be on any app I use where I rate my books, which is pretty much Goodreads and Fable. But for now, I think I'm going to stick it as a 5. But I can't tell, I don't know if I enjoyed it even more than the first one. in which case it has to be higher than a 5-star. But I think I'm going to stick with a 5-star for now. And then if I change my mind, you'll know some way. But that does wrap up this reading vlog. And it was quite fun to do a spoiler reading vlog because I feel like I can freely talk about everything that's happening in the books, and the people that don't mind spoilers or want to know or have read the books also know what's going on, so it makes it more fun. I definitely want to do more spoiler reading vlogs in the future. I also don't know whether to do like non-spoiler versions and spoiler versions, or just mix up every now and then of doing some spoiler, some non-spoiler. But I think all in all, this mood reading for a week vlog and finishing books I was in the middle of, or soft DNF'd at like the end of 2025, was more than a success, because we had 2 5-stars, which were The Housemaid and The Ballad of Never After, and we also had a 4-star, which was book 4 in the Crowns of Nixia series, The Fallen and Kiss of Dusk. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good way to start off the year for a week of reading. I'm so excited to see where my journey goes. I think to have 2 5-stars this early in the year means it could either continue this good or slightly go downhill, but just stick along for the journey if you want to see that journey of this year, 2026, and just my life in general throughout reading and just normal vlogs, talking videos. So if that is something you are interested in, make sure to subscribe down below to stick it out on this journey that we're going through. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye.